You're watching Fox 17 News, Nashville in Focus.
Happy Sunday morning. I'm Scott Couch. Glad you are with us. I've got 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and all kinds of political mayhem to discuss. Hopefully you are here for that. Let me introduce our guests. Steve Gill, attorney, conservative television and radio analyst. Beside him, Jasper Hendricks, who's a Democratic strategist and also the current chair of the Metro Fair Board. Deborah Maggard back with us, former Tennessee House GOP caucus chair. Delighted to see you. And with us for the very first time is Campbell Haynes, a Nashville attorney and a Democratic, let's call him a campaign veteran. His family's been through a bunch. I'm sure they've pressed you into service to work for those.
That's right.
Guys, let's talk about campaigns. One of the first things on my list, the crowd of candidates that's headed in trying to win the seat that Mark Green has vacated in the 7th District in Tennessee. Let me get this right. Nashville state reps, 3 of them off the top of my head, Bo Mitchell, Afton Bain, Vincent Dixie have announced. Let's see, several Republicans in the race too. Green, of course, is endorsing a man named Matt Van Epps, who's a former Tennessee Commissioner of General Services. You may have known him when he was in the administration. He's a West Point grad. Also, the mayors of Williamson County are backing another candidate, state rep over their way, Lee Reeves. Jody Barrett's running too, at least 3 others along with, let's see, it seems like maybe at least 1 more state rep is running, and Megan Barry is not running. Jasper, let's start with you. Do the Democrats think they've got a chance here, or are they all canceling themselves out because so many of them are running?
No, we're going to have a robust primary process. We're going to energize our Democrats and remind them that there is an election. This is a special election. So, and sometimes in special elections, you got to do things differently in order to bring awareness that there will be an election. And it looks like that the general may be sometime around December. We don't know yet. The governor has not issued his official writ of election yet, so we don't know, while we have our speculations as to what the potential dates are. So I think with the folks, and then we have a couple of people who are not elected officials who are running, and a couple other people who may decide to get into the race as well. So I mean, I'm looking forward to a spirited debate, about how Democrats can serve, and the National Party is definitely paying attention to this special election.
Are they pumping money into it, or are they going to wait until after the primary?
We have to wait until after the primary, and so the Democratic Party usually gets involved after the primary, after the candidate, the nominee has been chosen, and then you'll see some National Party, sort of coordination there.
Now, normally you see that happen on the Republican side too. However, in this case, Mark Green has already endorsed a candidate, I guess somebody that he feels a kinship with. How unusual is that? How much is it going to help?
I think it helps a lot because, again, you've got a huge number of people that are lining up in the Republican primary. As Jasper pointed out, we think it'll probably be early October for the primary, sometime early December for the general. Typically, it would have been shorter, but I talked to Mark Goins, the state elections coordinator, who says they had to expand it a bit because the state law requires you give 45 days to get military ballots out. And if you had the shorter time, you wouldn't have been able to do that. And with Fort Campbell and Clarksville in there, it's important to get those military ballots out. So you're going to have a large number of candidates on the Republican side. Money matters. Matt Van Epps has the endorsement from Mark Green. Lee Beeman, whose wife Julie worked with him in the administration, so there's some Beeman money there to play. And then Lee Reeves, who's a state representative in Williamson County, yes, is a self-funder who basically self-funded himself into the legislature. So you don't really have enough time to raise money to spend it with this short push. So if you don't have it yourself, you're going to be running uphill.
You're about to say something.
Yeah, I was just saying, it wasn't state law. It's federal law that requires the 45 days, so which means that we're going to have to revisit our state law, because our state legislature continues to pass these laws that conflict with things, and then we got to figure it out later, right? Exactly.
Well, when I was talking to Mark, we were trying to figure out when was the last time you had a special election, and he said, "Well, Bill Boner." It's like, no, Bill Boner's opponent died, and he won without a special. I don't know that there's been a special election.
Right. It hasn't been chosen. Back to the, I don't know what, early '80s, middle.
They haven't been in long time ago. Right. It hasn't been tested.
With the special election, you got to remember, no one votes on election day. Less people vote on the special election, so that's something all the candidates need to be aware of. It's going to be hard to turn out the vote when everyone's going to football games and it's back
Christmas,
to school
if they have
and
it in
Christmas.
December,
Right, there's all that going on. So it'll be interesting to see what happens because low voter turnout usually helps, somebody you might not want to get elected sometimes.
So, and by the way, whoever wins on either side has an August primary next
year,
year
right.
for the next election. So you, as soon as you get elected, if you win this primary, you don't even stop.
You probably know some of the Democrats in this race. Who do you think might be able to, I guess, energize their base? Because to Deborah's point, that's kind of what it's going to come down to. Who can get somebody to vote in December?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think Representative Bain, Representative Dixie, Representative Mitchell, those are all good candidates in different ways. I think they're going to energize different parts of the electorate. The thing that I'm looking for is which of them is best able to run, an old school kind of Democratic populist campaign. The Republicans are cutting taxes for the rich and taking health care away. We're fighting for the people. I think someone that can do that can be really successful in the primary and then in the general. And then I think what I'm also really interested in is who's going to be able to run a new school, be everywhere all the time, on all platforms at once kind of campaign. Someone who can do both.
Can any of those candidates, the three national Democrats, and we're just talking the Democratic side of this, can any of them write a check to get them, kind of across the, the primary finish line? I don't know enough about their money to tell you.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
That's hard, but I mean, that's part of it.
Sure it is, and we didn't mention Jody Barrett. He's running.
I think I mentioned him.
Oh, did you mention
over
him?
Dickson County,
okay,
yes.
yes, or I
If I
didn't
did not
realize
mention
that.
him, I meant
Conservative,
to.
but probably the least funded.
Right,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't be surprised if Gary Humble doesn't help him, if Tennessee Stands doesn't get involved.
It's going to be fun, and we got a lot to talk about. I want to talk about another congressional race next. I got to take a break. You're watching Nashville in Focus on Fox 17.
You're watching Fox 17 News, Nashville in Focus.
Welcome back, everybody. I was energized by that first segment. Just so much talk about this race and what can happen. And we've got another one. This is the 6th District congressional race. Now, this isn't going to be a special election. This is one where the candidate, John Rose, has said, I'm just going to run these 2 terms. I'm running for governor, so it's a wide open seat. However, we've got interesting stuff going on. State Representative Johnny Garrett, who's very well known in the legislature and in Sumner County and surrounding, is well known, running for it. And former Congressman Van Hillary, I'm thinking Soddy Daisy, Tennessee, back in the day.
But he lives in Hendersonville, Tennessee now.
For the last 5 years,
Yep.
yes. And he's been John Rose's chief of staff. And I don't know if anybody, you may have been, there was a big announcement for Van Hillary a couple days ago, just down the road from my house. And my question is, okay, we've got these 2 pretty well-known Republicans in Sumner County trying to reach out to the district. Do you live up that way? How do you see the tea leaves going?
Well, Steve and I both attended Van's event. It was a really good event. There were a lot of people there. I'm going to be going to Johnny's events as well. But I do think that you shouldn't underestimate Van. He had people from all over the 6th district there, and people outside of the 6th district were there.
I heard all the county mayors in Sumner were there, the sheriff
the sheriff
such.
was there, our school
other
director was there,
sheriffs.
but the Putnam County sheriff was there. I mean, he had a really good cross-section of political people and elected officials and just average citizens there too. So I wouldn't underestimate him.
That's a big district. How do you see this, Steve? You were there, and I saw some pictures, and it was kind of a who's who on the Republican side.
Yeah, they had about 380 people there, which is a great crowd for a congressional kickoff this far out. What was more impressive was the quality of the crowd. As Deborah mentioned, sheriffs, county mayors from throughout the district, and Van has been John Rose's chief of staff working that district the last 8 years.
Rose is behind him.
Rose endorsed him.
He was there.
Yes.
John made a speech.
Personality-wise, Van has more of that subdued personality that will play well in those rural districts. Johnny is a little bit more urban and suburban, so we'll see if personality plays.
But Johnny's got a really cool car.
Well, he
got
also,
a classic car, and he's
I
just
think
drive that around.
I think he can raise money too, and I think he can probably do a little self-funding. I think, I wouldn't count Johnny out either, so.
No, I think this
you guys
is
are going to
exciting.
make a ton of money.
Well, I'm hoping so, and I'm because we have ads on this show, and in every one, it is attractive to political candidates when that's going
Do the
on.
Democrats have somebody for that race?
Have y'all had anyone?
Well, people are exploring it. Again, this is a little early for that.
There is somebody,
race.
Mike Crowley or Crowley has announced. I had to look that up, and I don't know him.
Yep. So we're beginning to learn. A lot of the candidates spoke last weekend. The Tennessee Democratic Party held a 3-star dinner, and so a lot of candidates.
Didn't the DNC chair come in for that?
The DNC chair and vice chair was here for that event, and so there was a lot of energy. There were close to 900 people in the Carl Dean Ballroom at the Music City Center that night. So there's a lot of energy that's going on.
And Jerry Green, who is a county a council member in Memphis who works for Lee Harris as chief of staff, she announced she's running for governor.
She's running for governor, yeah,
No kidding.
that evening, yeah.
Now, were you at this thing too? Because I know a lot of people were, but this race has more time, is the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, it does. I think of, the Nashville congressional district was split into three, and of the three of them, I think for Democrats, the sixth is the hardest to win.
Just because of the layout of the rest of the district, you've got a sliver of Nashville.
Yeah, I'm actually in the district. I live in East Nashville now, and then it goes, all the way out to where now Congressman Rose lives.
I used to live in the 52nd back in the day.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. There's real red, which is the sixth.
Right.
There's dark red, that's Andy Ogle's district, and then there's pretty red, which is the special election, which may give you guys a shot.
That's right.
Speaking of Andy Ogle, Steve, I believe you sent me an indication that he had raised very little money according to the latest campaign report. I think it was
the
like
term
50,
pathetic
60,000?
and abysmal, I think, were the right ones.
Yeah.
$53,000 has $59,000, I think, on hand. I saw a quote that somebody said, Andy, fundraising-wise, keeps whistling past the graveyard, and eventually he will be buried in that graveyard if he doesn't start raising money.
Kev, what do you think about that? The Democrats, I've heard that the National Democratic Party is targeting that race. They see him as vulnerable, and that's one of the reasons, because, if people felt great about the candidacy, they would give you money. You're a sitting congressperson.
Yep, that's right. I mean, I think before his latest fundraising announcement, the D-Trip was targeting that district. It's kind of the type of suburban, maybe slowly becoming more Democratic district that, at least outside of the South, Democrats have had a lot more success in. With that kind of fundraising number, I mean, I think there will be some serious candidates who are already taking a look and may jump in very soon.
I know Miriam Abelfazli, who has been on this show. She was the Democratic nominee last time. How do you see that one? Have you heard talk among other GOP people that maybe they see, him as vulnerable?
Absolutely. I think that somebody eventually who can either self-fund or be well-funded will finally challenge him. The problem here is his base turns out for him no matter what, right? I mean, there are members of the General Assembly in their campaign accounts that have more money right now today, including some of the Democrats, than are a sitting congressman, and that's really unheard of.
Well, I mean, Courtney Johnson, she raised a lot of money.
She said she's not running
against them the last cycle, and it didn't work. Like you said, his base turned out, for him in the primary. Now, Democrats on the other hand, we do have currently, I think, 3 or 4 candidates that have announced, they're seeking the 5th congressional district. And that's Dr. Joyce Neal and I think Mike Cortez, who's a council member out in Brentwood.
I saw something today.
He's announced that he's running as well. So I think there's going to be another spirited debate on that side, for that congressional race as well as to which Democrat is more suitable to take him on if the if he does last through the Democrat.
It's a very red district, and Andy's problem, I think, is not as much a Democrat as there's going to be some $20, $30 million guy in Brentwood says, wait a minute, I can buy a congressional seat for $2 million? I'm in, baby.
I'm in.
And he's not making
I've got to
friends.
squeeze in a commercial break. We've got a lot more ground to cover. You're watching Nashville in Focus on Fox 17.
You're watching Fox 17 News, Nashville in Focus.
Shifting gears, not really a political issue, but one that could impact families across our state. The chairman of the Tennessee Board of Education, and I will confess that over 60, I've never been to a Board of Education meeting, but I did watch this one with interest on video. And the chair, Bob Eby, floated the idea of no longer requiring Tennessee high school students to take 2 years / 4 semesters of a foreign language, saying that maybe we need to lead the nation in offering an opportunity for people to pick something that might, suit them better, whether it's more math, science, or, AI classes or something like that they can use to make a living. Campbell, your thoughts on that? They have agreed to study it. Just your thoughts? You probably took foreign language. I mean, you had to.
Yeah, I wasn't very good at it, same as I wasn't very good at math, but I had to take both, and I'm glad I did. The interesting thing to me is, we just had this voucher bill that was passed last year. If I had to guess, most every private school that folks are going to use vouchers to go to in Tennessee not only requires a foreign language, but has a very good foreign language program. Seems to me what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If all the best private schools in Tennessee require foreign languages, then we shouldn't change up the state requirement to have a foreign language too. The other thing that I was thinking, and just thinking about myself being bad at math, there are lots of different skills you need to live and work in Tennessee. Some jobs don't need math, some don't need English, don't need other kinds of education, but we've just decided that these are all the requirements to go into these types of jobs, even if you don't need the foreign language.
And it's been going on for a long time. I mean, these have been required. I mean, I told you how old I was. I don't remember when it wasn't a requirement.
I took Latin and I took French in high school. I used more
One
Latin
dead
than I did
language?
French. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
I used more Latin
So
than
did
I did
I,
French.
so did I,
you know?
Yep.
How funny. Your thoughts, should we keep it? Do you like the
Well, yeah.
conversation? I talked to my wife about it at lunch today, which I thought, and she said the night before she was talking to my daughter and son-in-law about it. I thought, interesting.
Okay, so we used to talk about everybody needed to take Chinese. Remember,
Yeah.
that was the big thing. Children, every second
Mandarin,
grader is taking.
sure.
Yes, right. So personally, I mean, I think that it might be okay to get rid of those two things. If you're not going to go into the foreign service or you're not going to do something internationally, and you could come up with something else to take that might help you in your career, why wouldn't they let you? So I
And
don't know.
you could, to your point, you could choose to do it. You could, they just want to, I guess he's saying they should have a choice. Your thoughts?
I think we need to have the foreign language because even if you're here in Tennessee and you're not doing business internationally, your competitors are.
Yep.
And the world is coming here. Plus, how are Jasper's friends going to impede ICE if they can't speak Spanish?
Senor, what is your thought on that?
I mean, I think I took French. I was able to travel to Paris my senior year in high school to study it a little bit more.
Beautiful language.
But I agree with Steve. It's just like we have to think about we have to think globally. We have to think about if we want to be competitive in a global society, in a global marketplace, then it's great to have something that skill set in your back pocket.
Yeah.
And so it just imagine if Amazon is moving their global headquarters here and their global call center could potentially be here. How difficult is it right now? You call them right now on the phone and you're talking to somebody in India. You don't know what they're saying.
Right.
And you're going to find it more competitive if you can do these languages other than Latin, which
Sure.
is not coming back.
No.
You're going to be more competitive in getting jobs, good paying jobs, and moving up, I think.
But are they fluent when they
Usually
graduate? I mean,
not.
are they? Right. I
Well,
mean, I
but you
took-
also
But
went
you have a
college.
basic understanding,
Right.
and
I mean,
then you know where to go to look.
I took Spanish in college so I can count to 10.
My
Right.
daughter taught me.
There you go.
But I mean, if you graduate high school and you want to go work in the trades, you talk to anyone that works in the building trades, they pick up Spanish pretty quick, right? So even 2 years of high school Spanish is going to make a huge difference to any kind of job in the trades anywhere across.
And you can still have those other classes as well. Like, I mean, you're in school.
Give it a
You're in
choice.
high school for how long?
I would love to continue this, but I'm up against a break. We will be right back. You're watching Nashville in Focus.
You're watching Fox 17 News, Nashville in Focus.
In our last segment, I want to talk about something that the mayor has sort of opened the door to, and the Office of Homeless Services in Nashville has floated as an idea, and that is, should you as a national property owner be required to foot at least part of the bill for getting the homeless off your land? You're a state lawmaker and in the leadership. Your thoughts about this? I mean, you got folks on your land that you own.
Sure.
They don't belong here. You're trying to get them off. Should you have to pay to help?
Well, I don't think so. I don't think so because it's not really my fault that this is happening. So why am I why am I have to do
We have laws say you can't sit on another person's property and just set up shop.
Right, and then what happens to them? Where are they going to put them? And what happens afterwards to them? So I would say no.
I wish they'd move them into the Strobel house. They seem to have gobs of room down there, and I don't understand why they don't fill the place up.
Right. I think it's because we lack a homeless plan. As a city, and so
despite having this new department,
right? Because it's a housing department. It's a housing department, and their goal is to build housing, right? So it's not a homeless department, right? And so because when you're dealing with homeless people, you have to deal with the whole person. So you have to deal with their mental capacity, you have to deal with the issues that they may have, in addition to being homeless. And so I actually met with the homeless director of New Orleans a few weeks ago, down when I was in New Orleans, in one of my other capacities, and just asking them
ideas.
about, getting ideas about how they're able to address their homeless issues,
do they
because
do better
of their
than we?
festivals. Oh, they do much better than we do, than we have, because they have a plan. And so there's a plan in place. And this person actually came from Baltimore, where he fixed, where he dealt with the issues in Baltimore, and so we need to call in, experts, to help the city to devise a homeless plan.
To get a better plan. Don't have a lot of time. Your thoughts, sir?
So my main thought, not homelessness, but just housing in general, is we got to build more housing of all types everywhere in the city. We're way behind. We're like 40,000 units short. We got all these people moving from California, New York. It's only going to get more expensive. If we want fewer homeless people, more working people able to afford their house, more young people like me able to buy and rent affordably, we got to build more everywhere.
Well, we have some open just units. Approved a single stairwell, code or something that would make it easier to build townhomes and that sort of thing. But they're both right. We got to have more houses.
I think Campbell's right, but that housing issue is to make it more affordable so that all these people moving in, as Jasper pointed out, the homeless issue is not as much an issue of housing. It's mental health and drug abuse, and more housing doesn't fix that problem.
Right, and we do have some affordable housing available now at the fairgrounds. We have open units.
Didn't they just open this last week?
They've been open. We just did the ribbon cutting this past week.
Okay.
And they're 60 to 80% AMI. So if you,
what does that mean, AMI?
So that means your average median income of this. So as long as you make within that, and it tiers. So if you do qualify, you can qualify for a 3-bedroom unit. For $1,300 a month.
That's unheard of.
In downtown Nashville, and it overlooks the city. So if anybody have any kids, I can borrow.
Downtown would cost you $2,000 easy. Yeah.
Right. So and it's like and it goes up from 1,000 to to 1,300. So
and
studio. They're not full. No, it's not full at all. So so we do have affordable units available. So and that's just getting the word out.
But I do think this is a crazy idea. If I've got a burglar that breaks into my house, I shouldn't have to pay the police to take him out. If you're illegally in my house, if you're illegally on my property, that's the police, that's the authorities' issue, not my issue, whether they're a burglar.
And we're going to have to leave it there because we're out of time. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for watching. See you next week on In Focus.